Welcome to IHIP News Live. There has been a massive Epstein dump, and it is some pretty vile stuff. I mean, this is some very alarming stuff. And when I read all of this, I can't help it. And I know this is regressive and unhelpful, but I think to myself, everybody saw January 6th, everybody know who did it. Then we get the DOJ, and all of this stuff was sitting there and they didn't get it out before this guy ran for president again. It makes me so mad at Merrick Garland all over again, but there's nothing we can do about it. But I'm going to share this with you all right now. And I just want to give an alert before I read what I'm about to read. These are very disturbing allegations against the president of the United States. Kylie, pop this up. So, troubling allegations against Donald Trump in the latest Epstein files drop. The allegations appear to come from an FBI tip line. It is unclear if they were ever investigated. And this is a total trigger warning. So, Trump, the president, had parties at Mar-a-Lago called, quote, calendar girls. Epstein would bring the children in and Trump would auction them off. He measured the children's vulva and vaginas by entering a finger and rated the children on tightness. The guests were elder men and included Elon Musk, Don Jr., Trump, Ivanka Trump, and Eric Trump were there. Attorney Alan Dershowitz was also there with attorney Bob Shapiro. We were taken in rooms, forced to give oral sex to Donald J. Trump, forced to allow them to penetrate us. I was 13 years old when Donald J. Trump raped me. Ghislaine Maxwell was also present. This goes on, and these allegations are incredibly serious. The DOJ, after this was put up, they took it all down. Furthermore, the DOJ has promised the reason that they're delaying is that they're protecting the victims. The victims' names are going to be redacted. They weren't. In this dump, they had the victims' names, victims' pictures of their driver's license. In this dump, we all know now that this is why a lot of this stuff is going on, and the names that are being brought up into this are equally as disturbing. But the president of the United States, credibly accused now multiple times of child sexual assault. And then when you combine that with his own personal statements about grabbing him by the pussy, inspecting teenage Miss USA, naked teenagers in dressing rooms, and telling Howard Stern that his cutoff age for dating people was 12 years old.
Not a surprise at all. It's so disturbing and alarming. And you see over and over the people that called and tried to report these crimes, and they were either ignored, the ball was dropped. And that really, to me, is the hardest part to understand is how willing as law enforcement, how they didn't follow up with these little girls. And then we wonder why survivors don't report. And then you just see over and over evidence of people thought it was, fun to auction off girls. Like, that is so fucking craven. It's just so hard to put yourself in a situation where it makes any sense that this is going on and we're high-fiving about this. I mean, you can, I'll take, it's just, these allegations are so alarming. The fact that Donald Trump is ass deep in the middle of them does not surprise me at all. This is who he is. And continuing to support this man after all of these things, is it more stunning than, like you said, January 6th, let's hang Mike Pence, the vice president? But it just seems that every day and every time this man comes into power, it's just destruction. It's just a wave of destruction. And you see it goes back all of this time, which everybody knew on a conscious level. Like you said, the 12-year-old on Howard Stern, the beauty pageants, it was reported to law enforcement, and oftentimes law enforcement did nothing.
All right, here's another disturbing allegation. Kylie, pop this up. Epstein files allege Donald Trump forced a 13 to 14-year-old girl to perform oral sex on him and then hit her for biting him. And so, as you can see, this man has been credibly accused of sexual abuse multiple times in his past. He's an adjudicated rapist. He's all over the Epstein files. Jeffrey Epstein was one of his best friends. And he says he wishes Ghislaine Maxwell well. And then this makes me think, okay, during Trump 1.0, when Epstein was in DOJ custody, and they expect us to believe that he committed suicide, because this is what they've had the whole time. Nobody involved in this thinks that Jeffrey Epstein committed suicide. And when you read these allegations and the names that are in them, put this up, Kylie. Here we've got Bill Gates. In the Epstein emails to DOJ, Jeffrey sent himself emails memorializing a fight he had with Bill Gates. In it, he says that Bill Gates got STDs from Russian hookers and then asked Jeffrey for antibiotics that Bill could secretly give to Melinda without her noticing. We know that this corroborates with what Melinda Gates has said publicly about her divorce from Bill Gates and that she couldn't stand Jeffrey Epstein. And so I believe that what we have here is Donald Trump, we've all known from the grab him by the pussy tape. And so everybody that triple trumped is fine with sexual assault. They're fine with it. Men, women, Christians, whatever. Latinos for Trump, whatever. They're willing to overlook that. What we have now is a grand conspiracy wherein Donald Trump is in the epicenter of a child sex trafficking ring with his best friend, Jeffrey Epstein, who ends up in DOJ custody during Trump 1.0, when DOJ was only marginally compromised by Bill Barr. And then they know Jeffrey Epstein has all of this information. And then the security footage of his prison cell is weird. And then he's committed suicide. And guess who else is all over this dump? Elon Musk. Elon Musk is everywhere in this thing. Kylie popped this up. Sam Stein says, man, the Trump DOJ did at Elon Musk dirty. So you might remember it was Elon Musk that told on Trump, the reason he's not going to release the Epstein files is because he's in them. Well, Musk and Epstein emailed back and forth multiple times. Musk was abundantly aware of the relationship that Donald Trump had with Jeffrey Epstein. I think anybody that was friends with Jeffrey Epstein knew that he was a child rapist and a child sex trafficker. And Bill Gates, you know, you see him at the inauguration, you see him go to the CEO meetings, the lunches at the White House. And this was a guy who was all about, I'm going to give up 90% of my wealth. I'm all about vaccines, getting vaccines to Africa, to the poorest people in the world. And then listen, I know that people can be disturbing and complex, but how do you go from that? You know, you're this humanitarian and philanthropist to second up to Donald Trump. Well, I'll tell you how. Because you're compromised by the Epstein files. And that's how this thing works. Musk, how does he go from being the left's darling with electric cars and worried all about climate change to ass deep in the middle of Trump spending $300 million? Well, he's knee deep in the Epstein files as well.
The magnitude of the compromising information, and I think you're right. Like, the security guard was asleep, the security guard tape when Jeffrey Epstein died, but Ghislaine Maxwell is still alive, and she knows all this as well as anybody else. And that is also, to me, like Donald Trump. We just cannot forget this conspiracy goes all the way to the top. Donald Trump sent Todd Blanche, who represented him in his criminal conviction case in New York with New York DA's office. He sent him to talk to Ghislaine Maxwell. Within days, she's transferred. The statement is, oh, well, you know, she didn't say anything about Trump. She, you know, played dumb, that whole thing. And it's like, they have to treat her with kid gloves because she has all of this information too. She can corroborate it immediately because it is alleged by more than I've heard at least 8 to 10 survivors say Ghislaine Maxwell was not only procured girls, but she also participated with Jeffrey Epstein. So she is very likely a bird's eye participant with Donald Trump. And you see her name over and over again in these files. So the fact that he sent the DOJ down there and that we have any expectation that when she testifies before Congress, she's going to be truthful is a laugh. This woman is a monster, full stop. And all the magnitude of the people that knew that didn't give a shit. It's just because, like you said, there's nobody that he knew that was in his inner circle, starting with allegations made against Chase Bank all the way down, that did not know what was happening. And nobody thought, I need to protect these young little girls.
And if you think about it, Donald Trump and the way he sexualizes his own child,
Right.
Ivanka, and it wouldn't surprise me one bit, that first allegation, that really lurid one. It wouldn't surprise me one bit if his kids were there for this type of thing.
No.
He on multiple interviews is sexualizing Ivanka, and it's just incredibly disturbing, dysfunctional, toxic stuff. And this is very normal in families where sexual abuse is prevalent. This type of sexualizing nudity in front of children and things like this. This is a very I'm sorry. Pumps, you continue talking after me. I have to take a phone call. It's important.
Oh, okay. Yeah. When you think about his kids were there, you think, oh, well, that can't be true. But when move one step from that, he was on The View talking about how great her body was, that he would date her if she wasn't his daughter. He sexualizes everything, and the demeaning of women, the way just today at the White House, someone asked him a question he didn't like, a female reporter. He lets loose on her, nasty woman. He's constantly degrading and demeaning women. So this does not shock me at all. It's right in line with Barron being a big fan of Andrew Tate. Like, this stuff is normal in their family. That's what their families do. And so you look at these allegations and they go back years and decades, and the abuse it's so out in the open. And these Epstein files, they shine a light on it. And what that tells me is you have to make a choice. If you're in a situation where you know that a man with a ton of money and power, I'm assuming, with that much money has a lot of power, and you choose to allow it, be around it, whether you participate or not, in my mind, you're every bit as guilty, because you could have made a call to the police. And these victims did, but you cannot tell me if there was a string of contemporaries of Jeffrey Epstein and Donald Trump during all of these decades that went in and said, this is what we believe is happening. This is where we think it's happening. It would have been more legitimate, because it's obvious from these files that the FBI didn't take it seriously. Maria Farmer, who was the very first Epstein survivor and victim that went to the FBI, was in 1995. And if someone would have taken her seriously, maybe hundreds, if not thousands of women would have been spared. Girls then, women now.
Okay. And then here is another horrible tidbit from this document dump. Pop this up, Kylie. So Sarah Longwell tweets an email to Jeffrey Epstein in 2017. I'm at your door, but I will wait for my time. I don't want to come early to find Trump in your house. And here's what I find interesting about this. And then that email just shows exactly what Sarah Longwell summarized. Is I will wait for my time, meaning scheduled for a time for this person to come in and sexually assault a child. And then this person abundantly is aware that Trump was also a customer to be able to rape little girls. And this is so depraved. This is so incredible that he got the support of evangelical Christians, that they went and scooped them all up. And when you think about that Falwell, the guy who would
Yeah.
have his wife screw the pool
Oh
boy and
boy.
he'd sit in the corner and masturbate. And he's the president of Liberty University. The students at Liberty University are not allowed to hold hands. Meanwhile, he's doing menage a trois with the pool boy. And the thing is, he was getting off on the pool boy,
Right.
this guy, this big Christian. And I'm sure that boys were trafficked in this ring as well. Sadly, male victims are a lot more reluctant to come forward than female victims. Um, just because of the gender stereotypes, there's a lot more shame um, about coming public. I mean, the shame's all the same, but there's a lot more perceived shame for a male to come forward. And I know in the comment section, a lot of you are mentioning Sasha Riley, which we talked about recently. And I think that this whole, I've always thought MAGA evangelical Christians was a weird death cult. I think they have weird relationships with their kids. The ones that I've known have had incredibly bizarre relationships with their children surrounding nudity and sex. And it's very disturbing stuff. It's just very disturbing stuff. So it makes perfect sense to me that this movement, the evangelical Christians, the same ones when they send their kids off to these Jesus church camps where all the pedophiles are, that they find solace in this guy because it's familiar. This type of disgusting depravity is familiar to them, and they act like they're so pro-child, but they're not. They're pro-control. This is an interesting analysis here. Put this up. This is from Joshua Eagle, and he said, I've said it before, and I'll say it again. The sheer number of politically diverse and otherwise unrelated figures who abruptly reversed course in 2024 to rally around Trump suggests something more than coincidence. Everyone should consider the possibility that many of them are implicated in serious wrongdoing and that Trump offered protection or a cover up in return for their loyalty. What makes this even more obscene is how many names in the Epstein files overlap with Trump's cabinet, inner circle, major supporters, etc. And I think this is spot on. You know that Elon Musk was probably, I'm just deducing here. Trump said, like, if you give me $300 million, rig the algorithms, when you get in, I'll let you go shut down. When I get the government back, I'll let you go shut down all the investigations.
Absolutely.
Bill Gates, I'll keep the Epstein files private. Howard Netlick is in these files. Here's another shocking allegation. Put this up, Kylie. Barack Obama's White House counsel giving Jeffrey Epstein advice on how to answer questions about Donald Trump having sex with an underage girl at his house, allegedly. So this is a person that was the White House counsel for Barack Obama. And I want to be clear, Barack Obama is nowhere in here. These are government workers advising Epstein on how to answer questions about Donald Trump sexually assaulting a girl at Jeffrey Epstein's house. And it's document after document after document of crimes and cover up and so many names everywhere. Here is Trump's, he just announced who he wants his Fed chair frontrunner to be. Guess what? He's in the Epstein files too. Pop this up. Adam Cochran says, Jesus fucking Christ, is everyone in Trump's orbit on this fucking island? The frontrunner for Trump's pick for Fed chair, Kevin Warsh, came to Epstein's island for Christmas and brought a guest who had to be redacted, which is supposed to be for victims. So Trump's new Fed chair, too, is also the son-in-law of Mr. Lauer of Estee Lauder cosmetic fame. And he's the guy who put in Trump's ear for the very first time that he needed to get Greenland. And so everybody needs to start getting this now. Like, this is a group of oligarchs that think that the
Right.
rules and the laws that apply to everybody else don't apply to them, that think that little boys and little girls are theirs for entertainment, and they get protection from other criminals. And the Trump regime is a criminal organization with an assist from another criminal organization, the Supreme Court, and that we're involved in this mass cover up. And you have all of these, I'm a pro capitalist, pro gun, pro America, pro Jesus people that have no capital at all that support this shit. And our entire country, the press, Don Lemon arrested today, last night, First Amendment. The 3 judges passed on charging him. 6 people quit their jobs because they wanted nothing to do with charging him. Yet this regime marches on because Don is a Black gay man, and he's the canary in the coal mine, because if they can get that independent journalist, then they can come for all of us, including Pumps, me, and whoever else has a YouTube channel. Because they don't want us talking about this stuff, and they don't want us talking about how immoral and what hypocrites. And Pam Bondi with her Jesus Christ cross that she wears all the time. I just want every single listener of mine now until the cows come home to understand that when you see a woman, particularly a white woman, with a cross on, don't read that she is a Christ-like person or a follower of Christ. You need to read it as following: I have to wear this so people think I'm a good person, because underneath it, I'm okay with child pedophilia. I'm okay with crimes. I'm okay with shooting of innocent people. I'm okay with little kids being kidnapped and sent to concentration camps so that Jesse Waters at Fox News can get a hard on over it. I mean, that's how sick these people are. And they use their religion as a weapon. And then when you call them out, they act like they're so oppressed, and then they use it as a shield. And these people have all of this power right now. And the Democrats, in my opinion, are not rising to the occasion. The Democrats during Biden's DOJ did not rise to the occasion. These motherfuckers are serious. They're serious criminals. They're serious breakers of everything. They just break everything around them, and they're ambitious about it, and they move at lightning speed. And the Democrats are like, well, we're looking for a bipartisan agreement here. Yeah, we're going to make sure that the ICE agents wear cameras so that when they kill people, we have better evidence for it. And then the DOJ will say, we're not charging them because that person was a terrorist. I mean, it's so shocking, the lack of balls in Democratic leadership. It's so shocking that Biden's DOJ had all this shit. You think for a second, if DOJ under Trump had all this shit and a Kamala Harris or Barack Obama was running, they wouldn't leak this shit out to sabotage their campaign? We play 2 different games here, 2 completely different games. Or is it that the Democrats are also controlled by the same corporations that control all of these people that are in the Epstein files?
Right. The circles clearly overlap. They just almost have to. But when you think about, okay, so Trump is doing all this shit forever and ever and ever. And he goes out and he's like, I'm going to release the Epstein files. I'm going to release he gives like red meat to his base. And they think he's this big Christian guy and he's going to do all this for them. And then he doesn't release it. And then we see this. Do you think there will be a backlash, or do you believe this is my opinion. I think people in these super white evangelical churches it's so normalized for children to be sexually abused by, the people in power, i.e. a pastor, a youth pastor, a camp counselor. And it's like, well, we're going to forgive them because we're going to forgive and forget, not necessarily forget, but you know what I'm saying? That we're going to forgive him and we're going to move on. And there's never any accountability in these circles. I believe that it shows that they're kind of conditioned to accept this. And so accepting this about Trump, is this going to be make or break for these people that he just frothed up into a lather, that he himself was, not only participating, but involved, creating it, helping it, keeping it moving, greasing the wheels? Or is this the stopgap? I kind of think it's not, even though this is so vile.
If this was full of a lot of Democrats, they would have moral clarity on it. These people have willful denial when they want to, and they know when they're doing it. They would be completely interested in this if it were a list of Democrats and billionaires that donated to Democrats exclusively. And because these are their people, they will willfully look away from it. And because the ethos of these people is that I personally think there's a deep seated jealousy that they have towards open minded people because they are so shackled in their Iron Age thinking. And misery loves company. But I think that, I mean, I do not think these mega church people care about this stuff. These are the people that start talking about sex with their children and virginity when their kids are like 4 and 5 years old. That's weird. It's weird. Nobody ever talks about how bizarre that is. And I think that some people might, think, oh, okay, this is too much. But the peer pressure for fence riders, and let's face it, there's a lot of fence riders in this country. There's a lot of, oh, I'm a centrist. Yeah, I'm a moderate. And they're just kind of waiting to see what the crowd does. And so keeping this in the public is so important because some people don't form their own convictions. They have to see what everybody else does. And if they see that everybody's really outraged, they might be like, oh, fuck, that's pretty bad. And so it's important to keep it in the news cycle and to say clearly and decisively, this man is a child rapist. The allegations against him are too many to look the other way. And I personally feel like this is a time where so many people say, what can we do? What can we do? This is a time for people that have triple Trumpers in your life. Send the picture of the little boy with his little bunny beanie on that was abducted by ICE and used as bait and now is in a concentration camp in very, very poor health, crying for his little beanie and his backpack. And he's really sick because the food there is very contaminated. Text these people and say, are you down with this? Do you like this? Is this what Jesus would want? Text him the screenshots of Trump allegedly sticking his finger up little girls' vaginas and rating them for tightness. Text it to people. Like, this is serious. This is our country. They're killing people in the streets. And your complexion is not going to protect you anymore. Everybody is vulnerable. Every single person is vulnerable to this regime's insanity and criminal activity. And everyone in his administration, they all saw this. They all raced in there. They all went to the FBI. And they all saw it. Elon Musk had big balls go and download the whole file. Probably did a search. How many times is Trump in here? It's thousands, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of times. And he gets all ketamined up and he drops the bomb on Twitter. And Dan Bongino quits his job, Kash Patel. But here's the thing. These people it's not like they're going to go, oh my God, Donald Trump's a pedophile. I'm going to quit my job. They went to work for him. And when he said, grab him by the pussy and all this stuff, these are the worst people among us. The people that are able to look away from the way this man treats other human beings and the way he speaks about women and the way he speaks to journalists and the way he speaks about the press and the way he speaks about the country. I've never heard anybody shit talk the United States as much as he does. And he's the one that's ruining it. So this is a real problem. It's an all hands on deck situation where we have to get serious. There are many resistances and big resistances. And in our personal lives, we need to call out these Trumpers in our lives and show them how depraved these people are, because they're somewhere freebasing Fox News thinking this is getting some spin on it, that this is cute, neat, and fun. And they're vulnerable to this as well. Their Medicare, their Social Security, the economic future of this country, their grandchildren, God forbid, their darling little white grandchildren might turn out gay or marry somebody that has darker skin. This is everybody's fight. This is every single person's fight. And it's time for white people to step the fuck up. It is time. Black people have been fighting this and sounding the alarm for decades. Decades. These police abuses, this police state, the erosion of civil liberties, the double standards, the two-tier justice system, they have been ringing the alarm bell forever. And now it's happening to white people too. And it's time for us to step the fuck up for our kids and for future generations, because this is 1 year. This is 1 year, and this will keep going. The pressure needs to be put on everybody in Congress, both Republicans and Democrats. That little pipsqueak, Moses Mike Grinder Johnson, should be asked all day, every day, morning, noon, and night. Would Jesus approve of you supporting a guy that stuck his finger up a 12-year-old's vagina and rated it for tightness? And I'm sorry that that sounds crass, but it's important that we tell the truth about what's in these files. And we can't whitewash it and we can't sugarcoat it. And we need to ask every single motherfucker in Congress that will not shut the fuck up about how religious they are. Are you for this shit? Are you? Would Jesus be for this stuff? And we have to resist this with everything else. This is the most vile stuff on the planet. And it's all out in the open right now. And Trump is arresting journalists. He's killing people in the streets. He's kidnapping people. Stephen Miller is over, God only knows where, watching all the footage of all this because it excites him. He likes the recreational cruelty of it. And Trump and all of his cabinet like kids. They like abusing little kids. And Pam Bondi, the big Christian, and Caroline Leavitt, who's pregnant right now, who talks about life. J.D. Vance, who went to a March for Life rally, talking about children. These people don't give a fuck about kids. All they care about is abusing kids. And so we need to call out this hypocrisy all day, every day. This is so incredibly disturbing. Our country is a complete laughingstock. Shame on Biden's DOJ for not getting this out there before now and playing fucking serious. Well, we had to wait because under investigation, wrap the investigation up and leak all this shit in the press. This should have been all out there before this last election. There should have been a thorough investigation into the suicide of Jeffrey Epstein. Thorough.
Well, and Kamala Harris, since leaving office, made the comment, I think it was on Jimmy Kimmel, that, you know, we didn't get in the middle of the Epstein files because we wanted the distance between the DOJ and the president. And that's honorable. That's how it should be.
Where did that get us?
Right. That's what, look where we are now. Like doing that, making those decisions, which are honorable and have integrity. But we all knew that Trump, because he kept saying they're weaponizing the DOJ, and they were so scared they would be seen to weaponize the DOJ. And he's turned it into his own personal law firm. You know, crime, family, here we come, corruption. And then you see this and think, they could have stopped all of it. I mean, the Merrick Garland thing.
The thing is, we play two different games here.
That's right.
Kamala Harris saying we wanted independence. Well, I agree with that, but you're just talking about on the foothills of a guy that incited an insurrection and turned all of his white trash, gravy seals to bomb the Capitol. They took a shit in it. They wanted to hang Vice President Pence. They wanted to kill Nancy Pelosi. And then they get power back. And it's like, oh, well, we have a separation thing. Biden should have said, I am going to appoint a pit bull of a prosecutor. Anybody who has a sweet pit bull, I'm not talking about your dogs, but I mean this metaphorically. I'm going to appoint a pit bull. I want charges all the way to the top. Who funded January 6th? We now know Donald Trump did. I want an investigation into the suicide of Jeffrey Epstein. I want all of these files released once and for all. If Democrats are in it, tough titties, you're going down too. But they don't do it. They play two different games. They play two different games. After that insurrection, for Kamala Harris to have sat there, and I like Kamala a lot, but for her to have sat there and said, well, we wanted separation. Well, we're never going to get ahead. Like, you have to get your hands dirty with these people a little bit. You got to get some skin in the game, get your fangs out, because these people are fascist Nazis that shoot people in the street and then call the protester terrorists, while the guy that murders them is too big of a pussy to take his mask off. I mean, this is serious shit. And then the president and all the Christians in his cabinet are fucking pedophiles. And when you think about the statements that Democrats will say like that, it's like, what part are you not getting? That didn't work. This is a totally different beast of people. These people are diabolical. They're psychotic. They're compulsive liars. Look at what he has done in 12 months. And we had to have separation with the DOJ. Well, la-ti fucking da. Congratulations.
Yeah.
I mean, you know what I mean? Like, in a normal world, I would say 100%.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's for separation. Yeah, I disagree with George H.W. Bush. I disagree with that man on tax policy. Fucking perfect. Let's be all on board with all of that. But after Trump 1.0, to just go, oh, everything's normal now. And that's kind of what Biden did. Not kind of, that is what he did.
Yeah.
It just incubated this shit even worse, in my opinion. It makes me so mad. It makes me so mad, because a huge part of Joe Biden's presidency should have been preventing this man from moving forward, because Mitch McConnell didn't do it. He had the opportunity to impeach him.
And he didn't.
And when Mitch signaled that way, he should have said, okay, well, then I'm going to fucking make sure.
Yeah. And here's the thing, talking about how widespread this was and how people knew, even if they never went to the island, even if they never went to the townhouse, you cannot tell me this was not an open secret in a lot of these circles. And so, I mean, this has not been a secret. Like, we didn't know as a public about Epstein until it became more mainstream, but people in these circles knew, and they did nothing. And even when he was running for president the first time, nobody said anything. Remember that email that we saw in one of the first batches between Michael Wolff, Epstein's biographer, and Epstein? It was like, are they going to ask me about Trump? What do I say when they ask me about Trump? They were anticipating it, and it kind of fell flat.
Which I put all that shit on Democrats that knew this shit and they didn't play dirty.
That's a great point.
Seriously, look at the freak out they had over Hunter Biden's laptop. Hunter Biden smoked crack. He did. Hunter Biden screwed hookers. He did. Hunter Biden had his laptop confiscated. Hunter Biden's sober now. And he will go on podcasts and talk about all that shit. But they would not shut the fuck up about Hunter Biden's laptop. They would not. And I think they even got it. Like, somebody went to that computer shop and got it. And then they started making shit up and all this stuff.
Yeah.
This shit is real. This is real shit. And Epstein, because of his wealth, was able to curry favor with people in the DOJ, probably both Obama's and Trump's DOJ, was able to curry favor in both of those DOJs, and nobody stood up. And that's just a huge failure. And so when people say, have criticism or get mad at us because we criticize the Democratic Party, it's like they do not fight as hard for us as they need to. They think about how fucking hard MAGA fights for these billionaires.
Right.
The Democrats need to fight for everyday Americans like that. And so it's just, this is so disturbing. It's just such disturbing stuff. I mean, to see crimes against children like this. And the grossest part of it for me, outside of the crimes, are the Christian women
that are
that have children themselves that are pedophile protectors for this man. It's just, and on top of all this, you guys, he sent in Tulsi Gabbard to steal evidence. And he's pretty soon he's going to be like, oh, guess what? I won 2020. It's coming. We're a couple of news cycles away from it. And he was Truth Socialing all last night that Tulsi found evidence against Barack Obama. He is dying to charge Barack Obama. He's just maniacal enough to do it. And I don't know if that will wake up Hakeem and Chuckles. I don't know. But in the interim, political parties don't create change. People do. We, the people, do. And we're just going to have to keep applying the criticism to everybody who plays patty cake with this crap because it's so disturbing. Okay. I miss Obama too. Somebody says in the comment section.
Yeah.
All right. Please like and subscribe. Please go support our friend Don Lemon. I don't have an update yet as to whether he's out of jail or not. He was in custody in Los Angeles. I texted with his husband this morning and he was still in custody. So go to his YouTube channel and subscribe. And I think they've been going live all day. I was on there a couple of hours ago, and drop in the comment section and support him. And this is really hitting the Black community hard because they're always on the front lines.
Always.
They're always the canary in the coal mine. And it's not just Don that was arrested. It was 3 other Black journalists as well, that were exercising their First Amendment right as journalists. And so this is serious shit. This is the stuff you see in Russia.
Mm-hmm.
This shit, all this Epstein stuff is the stuff you see in the Catholic Church cover up. And we have it all in one administration. It's just so depressing. All right, everybody have a great weekend. If there's a medical emergency, we will go live. Otherwise, we pre-recorded some great episodes for our weekend drops. We'll see you all later.